Hi folks, today we are here with the new BIC line of inverter chargers from Kisae. BIC is pretty simple. It's the bi-directional inverter charger. And you might ask, what's a bi-directional inverter charger versus a standard inverter charger? What a lot of people don't realize is that an inverter charger typically is a box with two computer panels in it. One's for an inverter and one's for a charger. And internally they're wired together and the software makes them all work together. What Kisae's done is managed to get all of the components and all of the technology into a single board. So that one board is bi-directional. It's got power coming in one side, AC, and it's got power going out the other side, DC, or it can have power coming in that side, DC, and going out AC. So it's a bi-directional board. It's kind of revolutionary in the industry. Not a lot of this seen before. What does that do for you? It gives you a lighter weight unit. It gives you a smaller footprint. If you look at this, this is the 3000 watt inverter with a 100 amp battery charger in it. This is actually a pretty small compact unit, and not too many years ago, the 2000 watt standalone inverters were this size. Another thing that brings is you get a high quality, true sine wave power inverter with a 100 amp multi-stage battery charger at a lot lower price point. It comes in two sizes currently. This is the 3000 watt inverter with a 100 amp charger. This is the 2000 watt inverter with an 80 amp charger. Both, they are true sine wave on the inverter side. They have a 2x power boost. That means that for a very short period of time, this one will actually boost to 6,000 watts and the 2000 will boost to 4,000 watts. That's important for appliances that have a high startup surge, like for instance an air conditioner or a refrigerator where they've got to get the compressor going. If you look at it like a 15,000 BTU air conditioner, typically they run at about 1,500 watts, but they have a 3,000 to 3,500 watt startup for a very short period of time. Based on that, actually, either one of these units would be able to power a single air conditioner up to about 15,000 BTUs. Again, you'd have to really get into the specs and the numbers to understand what that means and if it's going to work really well for you. Of course, if you're sucking that much wattage out of a battery, you're going to really drain the batteries pretty quick. So you need to make sure you have a battery bank that's big enough to be able to support it. For instance, I think at 3,000 watts, if my memory's right, this will drain a 120 amp hour battery in about 7 minutes. So you do need to have some pretty good sized battery capacity if you're going to be running high amperage things like air conditioners. Both units will do all the battery types: flooded, AGM, gel, lithium. There's a pre-built-in lithium profile, as well as a custom profile. So any future battery types that might come out, you can actually go in and pre-program all the settings to deal with that kind of stuff. They do have automatic transfer switches built into them already, so you don't have to worry about that. It's great if you're sitting there and let's say you're in your van or your RV and you're watching your smart television that's streaming something and you plug into shore power, and the automatic transfer switch is going to switch over to your shore power rather than using the inverter power. At about 30 milliseconds, that actually won't cause the TV to blip, so you won't lose your stream or anything like that. Very quick on the automatic transfer switch. Dual power fans to try and get the heat out of there and dissipate the heat, keep things nice and comfortable. They both come with the panel here as well as the control cable. That's kind of the nuts and bolts of these things. They're basically, like I said, a bi-directional inverter charger, bringing you a lot more power, a lot more capacity at a lot more attractive price point. Here you can see, obviously, we've got our standard, what you would find in your household outlet. This is for the 120 power coming out of the unit. We also have our network ports here. This one here is where you actually plug in for your remote display. This one is actually for a battery temperature sensor if you want to maintain your battery temperatures and keep an eye on that. This little plug here actually is covering up the ignition port. So on some vehicles there would be a signal that comes from the ignition that tells the unit that the vehicle is on, as well as being able to control the unit from inside the system's CAN bus. Nice big battery lugs here for connecting to your battery cable, as well as the single on-off switch there. And you'll see there's actually 3 LEDs here, so the unit will actually work even without the remote panel connected to it. Real quick, I'm just gonna turn it a little bit and you can see the knockouts here. And if you knock those out, you can actually remove this outlet and hardwire the unit in. In the two knockouts, you'd have your AC power coming in from maybe your shore power, as well as another one for your AC power coming out of the unit, which would either be coming from the inverter or possibly just via the transfer switch if you're connected to shore power. You can actually, you pop this panel off, remove this outlet, and you can see there's terminals down in here. So for your hot, your negative, and your ground, or your neutral and your ground. So that's how you'd actually wire all that in right there. You can see AC output, AC input, live, neutral, neutral, and live. Pretty simple. Your ground actually would connect to the ground unit there. And that's pretty much how you would wire this thing up. So here on the display, just a couple quick notes. One, that's where you plug in your network cable, which plugs into the back of the unit for the remote display. These are for a CAN bus, so if your vehicle has a CAN bus in it, you can actually use the CAN bus data in and out of this to connect to the CAN bus. You will also notice that there's a USB port here on the back of the display. This is not for charging your smartphone or anything like that. That is actually for programming the unit, so don't connect anything to that. It's for the factory to use for updating software. That's really it. We're going to actually do another video showing you about the programming and the interface and how that looks and how that works. So stay tuned for that. Other than that, I just want to introduce you guys to the 3000 and 2000 watt inverter chargers, the BIC line of inverter chargers from Kisae Power.